difference for us between a secret society and a cult and potentially a religion? Like there seems to be three distinct groups, religions obviously much more accepted and allowed, cults seemingly the most dangerous, secret societies we've sort of covered a bit.
Religions could be argued to be the most dangerous.
Cult is the way that it's generally used is that it's a pejorative, it's an insult, and it's essentially used for some sort of minor religion you don't like. Okay? One that you can get away with calling names.
Well, hold on. I mean, when I think of a cult, though, I think of, a single authority figure around whom everything specifically revolves, that there is a process of indoctrination, there's a process of secrecy that slowly cuts you off from people who don't agree with the way that this cult is behaving. Like, those things do tend to distinguish cults from religions or even from 12-step groups, right? A lot of people say, 12-step is a cult. There's actually no authority figure. There's no central, So I just want to give us a little bit of I think it's like we speak to Steve Husson. He's a friend of the podcast and he's Mr. Cult. So, he would definitely say that, let's say the current administration has more aspects of a cult, right, than it does a religion. And those are very distinct from, let's say, a religious structure or other secret societies.
Well, what I was referring to is the way in which the term is commonly thrown around.
Got it.
All right. And people will come, well, they belong to a cult or this is a cult. And you're always using it in the same way that people use the term fascist. Okay. Even though they probably have a vague recollection, but it's a nasty name to call someone. So if you want to make a group sound bad, you call it a cult. So how you would define a cult as opposed to a cult, which is something else. There's really not any. Here again, you go back to the Latin origin. What do the Romans mean when they use the term cultus? And in its original form, it basically meant to worship or to adore something. It was simply a form of worship, where the Romans had all kinds of gods and different sort of sects devoted to them. So but then it also had the meaning of cultivation, same root there, of growing, of tending, nurturing. There's also this idea of nurturing as you would a plant, even in terms of a kind of instruction. So even in terms of the original Roman use, the word had different kind of vague meanings. As it's since gone on, later on, by the time you get to, the 16th, 17th century, it had basically come to mean a religious sect or a religious practice. There wasn't anything good or bad about it. It was just a particular practice which someone had. I think in French, it still pretty much has that meaning in terms of a cult is a religious sect in some way. But the way that we've come to think about it today, it tends to be there's almost always some spiritual or religious practice which is involved in it. But Mayim, you hit upon what is I think one of the key signifiers of a cult is what's called excess devotion. Okay, that there's some sort of leader and that leader is the recipient of what could be termed by those on the outside, excessive devotion. People see, first of all, this person seems to have absolute control. They are in unquestioned authority, and everybody does what they say. Now, generally speaking, at least since the 14th century, even popes haven't gotten away with that. I mean, there was always someone arguing with them. But within a cult, you look at, is there some person in charge, and does this person basically have an almost, well, let's cut to the quick. Have they become the little god of this group? Does their authority carry all kinds of... It's one of the first places. When I was in the 70s, I was a grad student, UC Santa Barbara, and, nice place on the coast, full of cults. There were a couple of people that I knew, and they had joined one of these groups. They started out going to what? Yoga classes. That sounds pretty simple. Gateway to a cult. And from that, in this case, it was.
Yeah.
They started going to yoga classes, and then somehow their yoga instructor ended up becoming their sort of personal god. And then they're explaining to me with great enthusiasm how he's instructed them to sell all of their belongings and turn over everything they own to him.
I've seen that documentary too.
Yeah, okay. And I'm listening to this. Now, keep in mind, both of these people are college educated,
Sure.
which I've also learned is no guarantee against anything. In fact, it may make you even more vulnerable. And I can remember what I said to them, which is that, have you lost your minds? I mean, what's the matter with you? Why would you do that? I could not comprehend. This is probably one of the whole trajectory in my future research is trying to figure out what the hell those people were doing.
For the same reason that people have secret societies. Everyone wants to belong, and everyone wants to feel special, and everyone wants to feel that they matter on this planet that is hurling through space in a universe among universes. I mean, to me, it's like, it's so human to want this. And it looked like one thing in 1776, and it looks like another thing now, but it's all kind of the same thing. We want to be wanted, and we want to be important, right? We want to belong.
But it comes back to like this question: why the robes and the owl? In this case,
fun.
Why does belonging? Okay, you've now taken all of your money, you sold your car, and transferred your wife's trust fund to this guy, and he's using this money. And oh, by the way, you're also working in the cult businesses for free,
right?
And he's living on a yacht, which he's bought. This really happened, by the way. He's living on a yacht, which he's bought with your money and everyone else's money.
Correct.
And I'm looking, why does your spiritual enlightenment have to be with you just what would appear to me being obviously taken advantage of by a charlatan? You're being deceived. And they didn't see that way. They thought they were getting something out of it. They seem to be really happy.
Okay, so this is the other thing I want to ask you about. One of the features of cults and some aspects of religious participation is brainwashing. It is manipulation. It is mind control. We spoke to Rebecca Lemov. We speak to Steve Husson about this. What part of secret societies has built in the need for some sort of mind control and psychological capturing of people's attention and resources to further their mission?
Well, it presupposes that there is a mission in this somewhere.
I think there's a mission.
In the Illuminati, in Adam Weishaupt's Illuminati, there was a clear mission. He created this group with the idea. What did he want to do? He declared it very simply. We are going to undermine and destroy all existing political and religious order, and we are going to replace them with a new order based upon an enlightened elite. What was the ultimate goal of this? The great thing that all the little people were going to get out of it? We are going to make people happy and free. But first, we must make them good.
I don't like any of those words. Happy, free, good. Nope.
Well, see, the words mean nothing. We're going to make them happy and free, which doesn't explain, but we're going to make them, see, there's that whole idea of good men into better men. We're going to make people happy by making them good. But it just leaves wide open what the definition of any of those terms would be.
You know what? I'm going to throw this at you. Make America great again, Dr. Spence.
Yes, what does great mean? What would that look like?
I can tell you what it means. It means using citizens to arrest other citizens. It means taking away rights of the press. It means taking away free speech. Is that greatness? I don't know. Project 2025. This was the blueprint for greatness.
When words like great or good are used in a slogan, that basically means is that they're meaningless. It has no particular meaning. It's a buzzword. It's an advertising term.
Well, they got a lot of hats that say it.
Okay, so like so that this, that the new tide is better than it was. Well, was there something bad about it before? How is it better specifically?
But that's capitalism also. We need to constantly outdo what you already spent all of your money on so that we can get you to spend it on something else, right?
Well, we want you to buy the same thing over and over again. A lot of this is really sort of messing around with people's concept of reality. This is one of the things I've heard, is that one of the things the internet has done is that by creating all of these kind of echo chambers and where every group finds their own community, that's one of the things it can do. I'm not necessarily sure that all human communities really need to exist. Okay, because sometimes you can get like-minded people together, and it all depends what they're like-minded to do. You ever think about that? What is the like-mindedness?
Well, but I mean, if you look at the history, and I'd hate to throw religion under the bus because I am, part of an ethnic and religious community. The entire, presupposition of religion was we have the best way. We have the best God. We have the best answers. We have the way to heaven. Right. And for all of history, this has been this conversation. Right. What's the best way to get you salvation? What's the best way to get you happy, free, and good in the next world? Right. So we're kind of all living in a juggling of this.
Or should you be happy, free, and good in this world? And here's a troubling thing. I didn't, but it's
add to the other troubling things.
Okay, it's gonna sound like I'm attacking religion, which I'm not really, but somebody else is. But I'm going to repeat it. It comes down to this difference. What's the difference between a religion and a cult? Well, it was once said that in a cult there is always someone at or near the top that knows it's a scam. In a religion, that person is dead. It's worth thinking about.
It can also be said that, though, in a cult, the person who may be at the top may be deluded enough to believe that their psychotic manic episodes are actually real and they are leading people towards some kind of salvation or mass suicide.
Yeah, I mean, can you come to believe your own bullshit? Yes, all too easily. That's a lot of what happens. I think a lot of history is just that. But although there's usually someone, I'm going to take a particular group here. Have either one of you seen a documentary called Wild Wild Country?
Of course.
Amazing, yeah.
It was my Halloween costume that year, of course.
Well, if you look at that particular group, you've got the Bhagwan Osho.
Yeah.
I don't think you can. It's pretty clear who's actually the person who knows the whole thing is a scam. That is Sheila.
Sheila,
the second in command. She's running the whole thing. I mean, this is a guy who controls people by not talking to them. I mean, this is. I've apparently just got
like
bored
my
of what I'm talking
parents.
about, and I'm not going to go on. But you can see why I find this fascinating. I mean, I'm going to move to a small place in Oregon and wear orange clothes and give all of my money to this guy who doesn't talk to me, and I'm going to be happy about that.
First of all, his work and his writing is still circulating around the world. Mm-hmm. There are libraries and organizations globally. In almost every country that are teaching his philosophy, and people swear by there being some nature of enlightenment in his poetry and his writing. And so potentially there's a message in there that was eventually corrupted by the cult and the organization that led people to be drawn to him.
Probably. Maybe. Kind of. How many more qualifying terms you want to throw? That's one possibility, or it was all BS in the beginning, and then people just rationalized the BS, and, nobody likes to. By the way, the couple I mentioned who had given all their money to the guy who bought a yacht with it did eventually fall out with the group. It did eventually come to the conclusion that they had perhaps been misled.